While many buyers are waiting for a sign from God before they write an offer on a house, Wall Street continues to gobble them up. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Real Estate Daily with the House Heroes. I'm Ryan Leneker. On this channel, we bring you everything as it pertains to real estate and mortgages daily. So if you like what you're hearing, please give us a thumbs up and like it. And if you don't already subscribe, make sure you go on and subscribe below and turn your notifications on so you get notified when we come live, when we go live Monday through Friday. Well, thank you for joining us. Like the intro stated, we've got a lot of buyers that are just waiting for the right time. And if you ask any of them, they don't know what that right time is, unfortunately. You know, maybe it was a sign that they saw in 2007. Maybe it was a sign that they saw in 2018 or 19. But they can't see the signs that are out there posted right now saying wrong way. You need to change course and you need to get into the housing market. And so let's look at what we are seeing, those signs on the road right now. This one's pretty interesting. This is from Orange County Register, and its history says 6% plus mortgage rates are still too low. We've now had 22 months of mortgages that are cheaper than inflation. This chart here, St. Louis Fed puts out their great charts, all of them from Fred. So this is pretty interesting. This goes back to roughly 1970. Excuse me. And the blue line here are the CPI, it's the inflation rate. And then the red lines are the mortgage rates. So every once in a while you see where inflation is actually higher than mortgage rates. It's happened now 3 times. So as we come across here, there's normally a pretty good gap between the two. And if you average those out, it actually means that we should be closer to an 8.9% interest rate on mortgages based on where our CPI is. We've inverted here. That CPI jumped up over, so the inflation rate is now higher than the mortgage rate. And it's actually coming down finally after about 22 months to where they're about the same. And we'll get into that, but pretty interesting. So mortgage rates would now need to be at 8.9% to keep with the average norm. And so right now, if you guys are out there, just, again, we say it over and over, the goal is to get in that home that meets your needs and then refinance later when rates are lower and get that payment down. But as long as you're approved and you can afford that mortgage, I would absolutely say now is the right time to get in. Time is your friend. The sooner you get in, the better. And if you have a long-term outlook, your chances are things are going to be great for you. So these are the headlines a lot of people have been waiting for, right? These are some of those signs. Market forecast calls for possible jump in foreclosure, auction volume. So everybody's waiting for those foreclosures to run up. We are at all-time lows still on foreclosures. We're now seeing a possible 24% increase on these already low numbers. When you start at 0 and you go to 1, well, let's say you start at 1 and you go to 2, that's 100% increase, right? We, in this local submarket, we see so few foreclosures, we would need probably a 1,000% gain before we saw anything meaningful for buyers to come in as an investor, maybe even a first-time buyer to come in and actually get what they would, deem a deal on a house. So we're still very low, and foreclosure auction sales outperform traditional REO sales by 40 points. That means that they're selling at the auctions before they get taken back by the bank. Who's buying at the auctions? Investors. What investors? Big Wall Street players. You've got huge players still showing up at the auction, just gobbling these up because they want to buy in volume. And that's one of the ways they do it, buying at the auction sales. So, it's pretty much biggest data out of this one is we really don't see foreclosures coming to the rescue to help you, get that sign from God. Oh my gosh, we got foreclosures now. We can finally get in. No, it's just, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Definitely not anytime soon. We are still bouncing off all-time lows in inventory. And here's the article, CNBC. Wall Street has purchased hundreds of thousands of single-family homes since the Great Recession. Here's what that means for rental prices. It means if you're staying in a rental, it's gonna be going up. They have such good cash flow on these rentals now. It doesn't look like they'll ever need or want to unload them. They are now saying that institutional investors may control 40% of US single family rental homes by 2023. And that single family rentals, that doesn't take into account large apartment complexes. It means that they will have a majority of the rental market come 2030 if they stay on this pace right now. And that's why I say it's going to be harder and harder for people. You might miss the boat. You might miss the boat to home ownership. You might, the chasm might just it's getting wider and wider, and it's going to be harder to cross that chasm, right? So unless you have something where you're hitting the lottery, or you've got a really good job that has a really good run up in income, where you're able to save a lot, you might just get left out and you might get drained. You got to remember the average savings of a tenant is roughly $7,000 nationwide, while a homeowner is $127,000 because the equity they build in that home. Twofold. One, they're paying down the principal, the money they borrowed, so they have that equity. Plus, over time, you've got capital appreciation, and you have that equity. If here in SoCal, I mean, obviously we just went through a couple of years where people were making that much, 127,000 back-to-back years in equity. So I get that that's not everywhere in the United States, and it's not in every city, and it's not in every first-time home buyer home. But the goal is, if you got a long-term outlook, housing is your friend. And we're starting to see some mainstream media, some of the bigger names. This one's from Fortune. The housing market correction just took a new turn. They are starting to say, they kind of go through a bunch of the cancellations that new home builders had and how that is changing both through rate buy downs and repricing of some of their homes. They're now in a much better path, and that's again nationwide. Here in SoCal, there's still a ton of home buyers that don't pay real estate agents commissions because they don't even need us to bring them clients. They get clients walking in the front door to buy those homes nonstop, really. So we're starting to see the data come out that we are passing through a home price correction. Things are starting to change. Obviously, here in our local market, Orange County, Los Angeles County, Riverside County, San Bernardino County, San Diego County, we've already seen where we've got low inventory. We have a ton of pent-up buyer demand. Even though affordability might be hard on them, they are buying homes, and we're really not seeing a huge change in pricing. We saw it last year from roughly May to about August. Things have slowed down since then, and pricing has been very, very consistent. So that's where we're at now. Nationwide, it's starting to kind of grip in. We're still going to see some pricing drops in a lot of the secondary home markets. Let's just call it where Californians fled, where they took all their money and bought up those markets to a crazy oblivion. Some of the Idaho markets, for example, some of the Tennessee markets, maybe those might have a little bit more room to move down. A lot of the second home communities where they don't have a huge population and a local job market. Some of those things will probably slow down here for a little bit as Californians aren't moving out of state. A lot of them, they're just, they're going to keep their 3% rate and stay in place, or their sub 3% rate and stay in place. And we're also seeing that with home buyers. I have a lot of my home buyers that are move-up buyers right now. They are going to keep their current house. They've saved up enough down for their 3%, 5%, 10% down. They're getting into their new home because their current home makes them money. They're in that 2.5%, 2.75%, 3.5% rate. The rent more than covers a mortgage, so it's a wash. On their debt to income ratio when they go to qualify in the new home, they're keeping it. So that's one home that might have been put back on the market back in the day. It is being kept. So because we had those low rates for so long, we are seeing a lot of different trends emerge, and that's one of the biggest trends. We don't see people selling to move up. We see people just buying the next house that they want. And rates now, where we at? We are roughly at that 6.5%. This is roughly from last February, the 17th. And, we've seen that trend continue through last week with rates rising. I haven't actually looked at what they're turning in today, but stick with us tomorrow and you'll find out today's rate. So anyways, again, if you don't subscribe, please make sure you go down below, subscribe and turn your notifications on so you can get more alerts from us here at the Real Estate Daily. We bring you content Monday through Friday, the latest in the trenches of real estate, what you need to know to be well informed in 10 minutes or less. And remember, if you have one takeaway, if you're pre-approved for a mortgage, I would go out there and I would find a home that meets your needs, and I would buy it. So thank you for joining us, and peace and God bless.